Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that changed my life. And it didn't take a year. It didn't take a month. It took 3 days. 3 days of changing the way I spoke to myself. Not to anybody else, just me. Because let's be real, the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself or nobody's watching. I'm talking about a booth. The way you talk to yourself determines how you show up in life. Every day, before anyone else speaks to you, you've already had dozens of thoughts run through your mind. And those thoughts create the emotional environment you live in. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, your body, your choices, your attitude, all of that will start reflecting that belief. You might not even realize it, but your posture, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, even the way you speak to others begins to shift under the weight of your inner dialogue. You shrink your dreams, you settle in relationships, you hold back from opportunities, not because you aren't capable, but because you've convinced yourself you're not. And here's the dangerous part. The mind doesn't care whether what you're saying is true or not. It just believes what is told the most. So if you feed it fear, it grows doubt. If you feed it faith, it grows courage. That's why it matters so much how you speak to yourself when no one is listening. Imagine waking up every morning and saying, I'm powerful, I'm capable, I'm going to make today count. Do that for 3 days and watch how your mood begins to change. Watch how people respond to you differently. Watch how you respond to stress, challenges, and setbacks. Most people wait for their external situation to improve before they change their internal conversation. But that's backward. Real transformation begins from the inside out. If you change your words, you change your mindset. And when your mindset changes, your life follows. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about reminding yourself who you are beneath the doubt, beneath the fear, beneath the noise. You already have greatness inside you. But the problem is you've been silent about it for too long. You've given more power to what other people have said about you than what you believe about yourself. But the most powerful voice in your life is your own. You hear it more than anyone else's. That voice can be a weapon or a healer. It can limit you or launch you. You have to take control of it. You have to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love deeply. Because let's be honest, most of us say things to ourselves we would never say to a friend, a child, or even a stranger. We criticize, we tear down, we compare, and we keep replaying mistakes instead of reinforcing our potential. But that stops the moment you decide to flip the script. You don't need a perfect life to speak powerful. You need the courage to do it, even in the middle of the storm. Even when you feel broken, tired, or unsure, because those are the moments when your words matter most. That's when your inner conversation becomes the foundation for your next breakthrough. Your mind believes whatever you repeat, whether it's truth or a lie. That's the kind of power your thoughts hold over you. You can be sitting in the middle of opportunity, but if you spend enough time telling yourself you're not worthy of it, your brain will filter reality to match that belief. It doesn't ask questions like, is this thought helping me? Or is this actually true? No. Your mind simply takes in the repetition and begins to program your behaviors and emotions around it. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't get to choose whether the soil grows something. It will. But you do choose what you plant. If you're planting doubt, fear, comparison, insecurity, guess what's going to grow? And the more you repeat it, the deeper the roots go. This is why most people live in the same cycles for years. They're not cursed. They're not unlucky. They're just trapped in a system of lies they've unknowingly built through repetition. And the tragedy is they think it's reality. But here's the thing. You can use that same system to your advantage. You can speak something different. You can speak the truth over yourself even if your circumstances haven't caught up yet. You can say, I am enough, even when you feel broken. You can say, I'm capable, even when you're uncertain. That's not delusion, that's faith. That's choosing to reprogram your mind by feeding it a better narrative. People talk about changing their lives, but they don't realize it starts with changing their language. What you repeat becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you act on. It doesn't matter what your past says. It doesn't matter what your bank account says or what your family thinks of you. If you want to shift your future, start repeating something different to yourself every single day. And yes, it's going to feel weird at first. You'll say things like, I'm successful or I'm going to win, and your situation won't reflect that at all. That's where most people stop. They let the discomfort kill the discipline. But you have to stick with it. Repetition is how habits are formed, and your beliefs are just habits of thought. Your mind might not believe it yet, but it will if you stay consistent. Like teaching a child. They don't learn the alphabet the first time. You say it over and over until it clicks. Your mind is no different. You teach it what to believe through consistency, not emotion. So even on days when it feels like nothing is changing, you speak it anyway. You declare it anyway. You believe anyway. Because every time you repeat that positive truth, you're weakening the grip of the old lie that's been holding you back. Every word is a brick. And with enough of them, you start building a foundation that no doubt, no fear, no failure can shake. Self-talk is the foundation of self-belief. What you say to yourself on a daily basis becomes the blueprint for how you live, what you try, and what you believe is possible for your life. Most people think confidence comes from results, but the truth is, it starts way before that. Confidence is born in the quiet moments, in the small decisions, in the daily conversations you have with yourself. If your self-talk is negative, your self-belief is going to be limited because you've already told yourself 100 reasons why something won't work. You haven't even stepped into the game and you've already accepted defeat in your mind. That's how powerful self-talk is. You can talk yourself into fear, talk yourself into procrastination, talk yourself into settling. And most of the time, it happens without you even realizing it. You start saying things like, I'm not ready. I always mess up. They're better than me. And those phrases become like invisible chains around your potential. But the beautiful part is that it works the other way too. If you change how you talk to yourself, you change how you show up. When you start saying, I've got this, I'm growing, I belong in this room, something shifts inside you. You start making decisions based on belief, not insecurity. You stop shrinking yourself in conversations. You walk into opportunities like you deserve to be there. That's what self-belief does. It gives you permission to try, to lead, to fail, and to keep going. And it all starts with your words. You don't have to wait until you feel strong to speak strength. You speak it until you feel it. That's how it works. Too many people are waiting to believe in themselves after they get the results, but that's backwards. You need belief before the results. You need belief before the breakthrough. Because self-belief is what pushes you to show up again, to try again. And that kind of belief isn't something you just stumble into. You build it. You build it by speaking to yourself with intention, with compassion, with power. You build it by refusing to tear yourself down even when things don't go right. You build it by becoming your own source of motivation when nobody else sees the vision yet. You can reprogram your thinking in just a few focused days. Most people believe change takes years, but the truth is that transformation begins the moment you make a decision and commit to it with consistency. The way you've been thinking didn't happen overnight. It happened from years of repetition, from habits you built without realizing, and from beliefs you inherited without questioning. But just like you picked up those patterns, you can interrupt them. You can flip the script and teach your mind something new. Your brain is designed to adapt, to change, to rewire itself based on what you consistently feed it. That means if you decide to talk differently to yourself for the next 3 days, you are literally laying down a new path in your mind. Every time you replace a negative thought with a powerful one, you're doing more than just saying something nice. You're taking control of your mental environment. The first day might feel uncomfortable. You'll probably catch yourself thinking the same old thoughts, but that's part of the process. Awareness is progress. If you can recognize that you're drifting back into doubt or fear, that means you're already starting to break the cycle. That's when you speak. You stop that thought in its tracks and replace it with something better. Not something fake, but something empowering. Say things like, I'm allowed to grow. I don't need to be perfect to be powerful. I am learning, and that's enough. Keep doing that. And by day 2, your mind starts listening. You feel a little lighter. You start approaching your task with more courage. You'll be surprised at how quickly your energy changes when you choose different thought. By the 3rd day, something begins to unlock. You start believing that maybe you're not as stuck as you thought. Maybe the limitations you've accepted all this time were never real. Maybe you do have what it takes to rise. And once you experience that shift, even in the smallest way, you've proven to yourself that your thoughts aren't fixed. They're flexible. You're not at the mercy of how you used to think. You're in charge. You get to decide what kind of mindset you want to build. And it all starts with the discipline of 3 intentional days. 3 days of choosing your words. 3 days of speaking life into yourself, no matter how loud the doubt gets. Speaking life into yourself builds resilience, focus, and action. Most people don't realize the connection between the words they speak and the life they live. Every time you tell yourself, I can handle this, you give yourself strength. Every time you say, I'm focused, your mind sharpens. Every time you repeat, I'm going to do something about it, you trigger motion. Your words aren't just expressions of how you feel, they are instructions to your spirit. When you speak life, even in dark moments, you are choosing to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. Life is going to throw pressure, setbacks, and challenges your way. That's a guarantee. But what you say to yourself in those moments will decide whether you grow or give up. That's why it matters that you're intentional with your words, especially when things get tough. The habit of speaking life creates a kind of inner armor. You bounce back faster because you've already told yourself that you're not finished yet. You don't let rejection define you because you've already declared your worth. You stop wasting time comparing yourself because your focus is rooted in purpose, not approval. When you build the habit of speaking powerfully to yourself, you begin to move differently. You walk into the room and your energy speaks before you do. You become solution-minded instead of problem-focused. You stop waiting for permission to go after what you want. And all of that comes from training your mind with words that align with who you want to be, not just how you feel in the moment. Feelings change, but spoken belief creates consistency. Speaking life gives you something to hold on to when the ground beneath you feels shaky. It reminds you that you still have options, still have value, still have something to offer. And as you keep doing this, something else begins to happen. You inspire action. You don't just feel better, you do better. You don't just talk about growth, you start chasing it. All right? That's the real power of speaking life. It pushes you beyond emotion and into execution. You stop overthinking and start moving. You stop doubting and start doing. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. You don't wait until life feels perfect. You speak until your words shape a reality, worth showing up for every day. What you tell yourself for 3 days can shift what you believe for a lifetime. It might sound like a small window of time, but your words hold the kind of power that can set long-term change in motion. Most people underestimate what just 3 days of focused, intentional self-talk can do. They think real transformation takes years, but the truth is, belief is created in moments when you choose to talk to yourself differently, even if your environment hasn't changed. When you wake up each morning and choose to say, I'm capable, I'm strong, I'm ready, your mind takes those words and begins to build a new version of reality. At first, it may feel forced or unnatural, but repetition is what makes a message believable. That's how beliefs are formed. You spent years speaking doubts into your life, repeating insecurities, and reinforcing limitation. That cycle can be interrupted when you dedicate just 3 days to speaking something new, something empowering, something bold. This isn't about ignoring the truth or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing a different truth, the one where you are not a prisoner of your past or your fears, the one where your voice carries the power to lead your future. Words create direction. They create focus. When you commit to 3 days of telling yourself who you really are and where you're really going, you're planting something that doesn't leave easily. A belief that's built through repetition will outlast emotion, fear, and distraction. That belief starts small, but it grows every time you reinforce it. Every time you say, I'm more than enough, or I'm built for greatness, your brain holds on to it a little longer. Your actions start to align with those words. You begin to show up with more certainty. You start responding to problems like someone who's already seen the finish line. And once you've experienced that mental shift, you realize you were never waiting on a miracle. You're waiting on yourself to speak differently. It's not magic, it's strategy. 3 days is enough to set a new tone for how you live. It's enough to reset your thinking and open a door that's been locked by your own silence. Speak the words, repeat the truth, build a belief, and you'll be surprised how fast your mind starts to accept it as your new reality.